All right, everybody, welcome to the Death by Exile podcast, episode 7, I think. No, yeah, it is. And today it is a very special episode of the podcast because hopefully this will be the first ever special guest featured episode. Not the last, but the first.
I might be a last.
There's people. We'll see. We'll see if the plane goes down. We're also recording this on a private jet.
I hope I just hope it records
because we got that dealership. Yeah, for real. We got that LARPing for Christ money in. So now we're on a jet. But anyways, our special guest today, I'll probably cut that out, is Orion.
Hey.
Hello, Orion, my old friend for many years and activist extraordinaire, Orion.
Mi amigos es muy interesante.
Is my Spanish twin. But speaking of long old friendship. But yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, I'm so like amped that like catching up is in the form of a podcast. This is like so great. I feel like it's been a while. It's good to see y'all.
Yes, it has been. How many years has it been? Like 4?
I hope not.
I'm pretty sure it's like been 4 or 3 years since the last time we hung out.
2021, 2017? 2017?
Yeah, like 2017 around there, I think.
I think for me it's probably like a huddle.
A huddle thing, probably.
A huddle thing.
Yeah.
A huddle. Like, is that a time period?
I want to say maybe around.
But people don't know, Huddle was like a collective thing for artists in Stockton, right?
Oh, like the last time you saw me was at Huddle.
I think it was.
No way.
Me and Orion know each other through the music scene of Stockton because we used to help each other out with events and random shit, right?
Yeah,
but
totally.
There's a lot of history there.
Flee for Peace.
Flee for Peace.
Blackwater.
This is the local talk shop again where we talk about local shit that no one gives a fuck
I have
about.
a local memory. Karaoke bar.
Oh.
You're singing, and this for some reason I was like, that's such a badass thing to do. You got like a 100 on the song. I can't remember what song it was, but you know how it has like the generic graphics in the background.
Yeah.
So it was like a car. It was like cars racing.
Perfect.
And you're singing with the song, and like you're killing it, and you're like, that's a nice car. That's a nice car I just drove by. Is that a Camaro? And we're like,
that's such a sweet memory.
For those who don't know, his last name.
Like, I was like, God damn, that's so fucking smooth.
For those who don't know, Orion's last name is Camaro.
True.
Like,
yes.
like the car.
Yeah, vehicle. I gotta keep that drive, you know.
Smooth.
Pun on puns.
Staying funny. Oh my
gosh. Oh man. But yeah, and fucking memory I have of you is when you were making that movie, and your house was just madness. There was like 2 days where we were just all hanging out at your house, and there were so many people going in and out of the thing, and so much shit happening, and we were all like, what, like 18, 17 or some shit like that?
Pretty early on, yeah.
That inspired me, man. Seeing all those creative people just like cluster fucking in that house like that, I was just like, it doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to look good, as long as our people are moving around, something's happening, like something's being made. So I really took a big thing out of that. I was just like, just keep moving, just keep doing shit.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was some good times.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
But then after that, we moved on. You moved on to creating Psy.
Oh yeah, that was you're taking it all the way back.
Yeah, man.
Stockton Aesthetic Initiative. Yeah, that was cool. It was.
I watched those YouTube videos randomly sometimes, and I'm just like, that was us. It's like dated, like these music videos. Like it's so dated, like you can tell that that's from like 2010 or like 2009 and shit. It's just like, wow, we all look like babies.
They're like artifacts. Yeah.
They really are.
Yeah.
Plea for Peace is gone. All that area is developed so much more now.
Now it's like,
so watching those videos and shit, it's just like, man, look at that dingy ass parking lot.
that rough DIY space.
I'm still waiting for that coin operated arcade to open up.
Oh yeah, man.
Oh my gosh, that's so long ago. That's super cool. Yeah, that was fun. I mean,
what made you do that? Just Psy. I remember back in the day, you just came up with that idea, and then like a week later, it was a nonprofit or some shit like that.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, honestly, it actually like the idea kind of came from. So basically the summer before Psy started or whatever, I had just come back from this summer program called CISA, California State Summer School for the Arts, and it was hella cool because everybody in that, like, it was like a creative summer camp. So there was like film students that would just work on short films all the time, and they would tap in the theater kids to like work on stuff, and then like
Okay.
visual artists would put on DIY shows and stuff. And I was like hecka inspired, and I was just like, dang, this is tight. And then
Like I know people in Stockton that could do something like
oh
this.
yeah, a lot of our friends like were really tapped into the music scene or the art scene for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then so when I came back, there was all that stuff that was happening in Stockton with like just like hella like bad flack, I guess, for the
Mhm.
city, and just like I was like, dang, we should do some cool DIY art stuff. And
Because we were already doing it by the at
yeah,
that point.
and Psy was tight too because like the original I wrote a grant from the Stockton Arts Commission to like fund the beginning of the project, and it was like basically the style of the group would be that we would like put on art shows or
Mm-hmm.
benefit concerts, and then we donate half of the proceeds to like a charity or community cause, and then put the rest of the money into doing another event. And
Yeah.
it created this like sort of chain reaction. Of,
Yeah,
like, all sorts of
definitely
cool things.
did.
Even beyond me too, like it just the art scene kind of just started showing up for each other, and I was
Yeah.
like, dang,
Yeah.
this is sick.
I was gonna say I remember the biggest thing I took away from Psy was the organization. Because like I said earlier, like we were already kind of the DIY scene, like the alternative rock scene in Stockton. We were already kind of just doing it for like our own sake. But when I saw you actually like activate and get people to like organize to make those events, I was just like, dude, we could do it so much better. Like we could definitely just do it so much more organized. And I really do feel like that eventually trickled down to the fucking NPR piece that they did.
Oh yeah.
I really do feel like Psy, even though it's super disconnected, but I feel like that evolved into that because of the experience I had personally with Plea for Peace and Psy, and then all you guys just being organized.
Well, the DIY energy just started like handing off to different people, and then all of a sudden, like, yeah, I mean, it was kind of just like more of like a mutual jump spark because everyone just started getting really amped on each other, and then
Yeah,
people started taking initiative in their own
that's
ways.
that's how me and Art met. Because Art would
Yeah.
just show up to the shows and shit, and I'd just be so stoked to be like, "Yo,
Yeah.
Art, a dude that I don't even know is here to watch us." Like, hell yeah.
Right. And when you were talking about that, were you talking about that piece?
I love two-piece bands.
Hell yeah,
Big fan of two-piece bands.
for reals. Are you talking about that coverage when they did like a NPR thing about
The Mallrats.
the Mallrats piece?
Dude,
yeah.
I remember-
and Youth Radio covered it.
I
right?
watched that shit way too many times. I
It's
get so
tight.
every time I watch it. I don't watch it because I'm like, that's me or whatever. I show it to people, but every time I watch it, it just re-inspires me.
But it's also like a cool model, right? Because like, the thing
Yeah.
is that the way that even those shows came about was it was like a partnership, right, with that business owner,
Mhm.
and that space was dormant anyway, so it was like a cool way to like
Yeah. Oh
to
man.
create DIY space that like was like more like youth led and more autonomous. But then because like that's the thing in Stockton too, people need an outlet, creative outlet, to, like,
Definitely.
express and
Yeah, I remember the first time I went to one of the shows. Someone legit gave me an address to like an abandoned unit.
Warehouse
No,
or
unit.
unit.
And it was like during the D thrift shows, and I swear to God, I went home because I thought someone was like,
Gonna rob you.
no, I thought someone lied to me.
Oh.
And then
Nah,
someone
bro.
like I think the next day, like I was like, yo, I think it was like not Justin. Right now, Frankie was like, no, dude, like you have to go in the back. I was like, cause he's like, dude, he's like, what happened? You said you're gonna like show up, and I was like, dude, like I showed up, there's nothing there.
But
my
behind.
And he's
the-
like, no, you have to. He's like, you have to go in the back, and then there's a door you knock, and this is because like
And
it switched multiple times.
yeah, it did, and it was so shady, bro. when
And,
you would go back there.
And-
Deeper than
well, it wasn't even
underground.
that. I just thought I thought like literally like, oh, they're taking like a storefront, and they're just gonna like I thought I legit was like, well, it's a thrift show. Maybe they work there in the daytime, and like because I basically my buddy worked at a Replay Records
Mm,
when it was in the Hammer Ranch shopping center,
yeah,
and at the after hours, the owner Willie would let us go in there,
do
after-
shows and shit.
Not shows. He just lets us kick it.
Oh, kick it
and do
there.
stuff.
Oh, that's
Dude,
cool.
dope.
And so, because we're all underage, who can like
True.
and we were all living with our parents and
Mhm.
stuff, and like, when you live with your parents, you can't throw
Nah,
throw
yeah,
parties,
you
stuff
can't
like
do
that.
shit.
Right.
So he would let us based on my buddy worked there. He was like, yo, dude, like, well, this is cool. Like, we have after hours at the shop basically,
Just kick it.
and so you're gonna drink and then play music. So I thought it was that speakeasy kind of like vibe. You just go in and like knock on the door, and then they're just gonna let you in. And you go in the back room, and band's gonna play or something.
Dope.
Which it kind of was, but it was just the other way around. Just go through the back.
Yeah. Yeah, ours was very just like no one could know. When we were doing those shows, we really I don't know, I'll eventually get like Frankie on here and get other people that were part of that on here so they can give their point of view.
Mm-hmm.
But my personal point of view was the less people are aware of this, the better. Because I would look at the crowd and I would look at the people that were showing up and I was like, there's a hell of underage people here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who wants to be holding that bag when the cops show up or a parent shows up and they're like, why is my son who's only 15, 16 drunk as fuck at the house?
Yeah, it's super intense. I mean, and that's the thing. That's like I think that's challenge in Stockton, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like young people looking for.
That's the whole venue argument. I did jump in, but like that is like the whole venue argument is like everyone wants a venue here, but venues don't make money because they make money off liquor sales.
Yeah.
Well, people that go to shows are more underage than overage.
Yeah.
So basically, to have like an underage venue is to take a loss.
Pretty much.
Because basically you're hoping like you make your money back on liquor sales.
But you're not going to. Yeah, like a fucking all age venue should be pretty much a donation kind of thing. It shouldn't be a business. It should be more of like a community thing.
We had an agreement one time because we did a slip video premiere at a bar.
Oh, I remember that.
And we did a thing where we had an understanding. I don't know if this was like completely legit, but we had an understanding with the owner of the bar that at 9:00 everyone who was underage had to leave. So if you came in, you got ID'd and wristband. If you had a wristband, that means you're underage.
Mm-hmm.
And so at 9:00, basically we did like a first viewing, and I was all ages. And then after that, they were gonna play the video again and all night. But it was it was 21
Adult
and
Swim.
It had to be 21. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I remember also that going awry.
Oh yeah.
Because people didn't want to leave and they wanted to hang outside, which is whatever. But when you have a lot of underage people kicking it outside of a bar, I can definitely see how that would make the owner sweat.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's tough.
But
yeah,
it's a hard thing, dude. Like the Vox tried it, best intentions, but
right,
it's really hard to run just a straight venue.
Yeah, it's not a profitable
And
unless.
That's kind of where those shows really worked because
they were guerrilla shows.
And they're not only that, but the person had owned the businesses. Really, like I'm just not using this unit right now.
Yeah, it's a private, and it was a private party pretty much. It was like our own little private event. But I would always be like, dude, it's dope. There's hella people here, but how the fuck are we gonna legitimize this? Because there was really but it never did happen. But at that point, I was thinking in my head like, we got something here. Like we could definitely figure out how to commoditize this and streamline it, so it's not so
or to make it just sustainable. And I mean that's the thing that's challenging is like the mix. Okay, because I mean the thing in too is like in Stockton in general, like even pre-pandemic, and pandemic's made it worse obviously, but just like we've always had a struggle to like have space for like young people to like grow and develop and like practice skills and like take risks and like learn and stuff. And I feel like that's the thing that's wild too, because I feel like in these sort of DIY spaces there's like those risks like that y'all just said, which is super real, but then also like there's a lot of like I don't know, like beauty and momentum and development that happens just alongside being part of a scene like that, and just how to be able to like make that possible for young people feels important or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like speaking as a person who's older and want to go in those shows, and like you're saying, I was like I'm kind of the odd man out because I'm older than most of the people there.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the things that always like crossed my mind. I was like, well, you gotta like be respectful, to make sure like I have brought my own beer, but I can't give this to like anybody underage, and also I can't be like I like to take photos, but like that's one of the things I talked to you about, like exploitative photography.
Oh yeah,
like
definitely.
the idea of like me like taking a photo of like
someone fucked up in the crowd,
underage fucked up, or like
oh no,
someone doing like doing drugs underage and stuff like that. Like that might be all
in the moment cool,
but really is that really like cool? Because it's me exploiting it.
Yeah,
just so I can get like look what look and that's not really everyday life. That's just that one time. One moment. It's not like it's like that person's always fucking
doing that shit.
doing coke, you know, like
Yeah.
or
But that's what I was
whatever.
about to say. Is like it's exploitative because there's an underlying problem, which is substance abuse and underage people being exposed to that. So like if you're taking pictures of it, you would hope that the person taking pictures of it is like trying to address that kind of shit.
Yeah, you're older and you're an older guy taking photos. Like to me, I'm just taking photos of like that moment, that scene that's going on. But you also have to be aware that you're also maybe taking photos of like underage girls,
Yeah, yeah,
and maybe that's like, and you know, me, I'm not like trying to be like oh, like you know, like here's my moment to like be like a creep or anything like that. But you have to also think about it and be like,
accountability.
you
You
gotta,
just have to be
you gotta
accountable.
be like, look, I'm here just to take photos of the space, and you happen to be in the space,
Yeah.
you know, and I try to be like
That's why.
respectful about it.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I've definitely had people come up to me like, "What's up?" You know, like, "Why are you taking photos of me?" Blah blah. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm just taking photos of them. If you don't want me, then
Yeah, I won't do
you
it.
never see it again. You know,
Yeah.
like it's
Well,
gone.
that's a wild. Yeah.
Because
But
you never know how people are gonna react
yeah,
to certain shit.
dude, like, we've all heard stories and stuff like that. Like, you know,
Well,
like,
I mean, some of the venues, there's like venues here in the past in Stockton that have like shut down because of that.
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Which is super. Yeah, it's
well, it's kind of weird
sucks.
because it kind of kills that like. Especially me too, because like skateboarding is a weird, like Bob I was talking about. Like, skateboarding's a weird thing where I can hang out with a 16-year-old
Yeah.
at the skate park because we're both there to do the
Skate.
same thing.
Yeah, the skate.
And it's a weird dynamic because it's like a 30-something-year-old hanging out with a 16-year-old,
Yeah.
but you guys are both there for the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, I always have to have that barrier because I'm an adult, and
Oh yeah.
you have to be like, it's hard to have that mentor relationship nowadays because a lot of people have been sus and like have ruined that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like
That's right.
you're not looking at it as like, oh, this person's looking to you as like the OG or like an older guy who wants to like help you out or give you advice.
Yeah.
Like this person might be there to like take advantage of you.
To do some
oh
weird
no,
shit.
that's
Yeah.
horrible.
But
But that's the way you have to. I forgot
That's-
someone was talking to me one time about it. They're like,
But
there's
that's the
there's
president.
A little girl.
That's the not the president. The president.
The
precedent.
precedent.
The precedent.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh
Not the
shit.
president.
Like,
Like-
that's going to
Like I always have that. I always
Hard
have that,
left.
Yeah, I always had that in the back of
Hard
my
left.
mind though. Like I forgot I was talking to somebody who was at the cast iron. There was like a little girl, like I guess she was outside the window. I don't know if she's like licking the window or she was like
Ugh.
doing something, like she was dancing or some shit. And like the Natalie and them were like, "Oh look, like isn't she cute?" And I was like, just like. It's like what? Like what? You don't think she? I was like, I'm a grown man. I can't look at it like a little kid. I was like, it looks super. Like you guys are women, so it looks
Yeah.
less creepy. I was like, dude, if someone catches me like
Looking at that. kid.
like in their mind, it's not going to be like, oh, he must like think she's cute, like as like
nah, bro, you're a creep.
it's like you're a creep. So I was like,
Yeah.
dude, I can't do that. Like, you know, you
Yeah.
guys get a little leeway on that, but for a grown man to be like staring at like a little girl, it's kind of.
Yeah, that gives room for people to suss.
And it might suck because like I could be a dad looking at that girl like, oh, she reminds me of my daughter.
yeah, but
You know, or she reminds me of my little
Yeah.
niece. You know, something.
but that's
like
what I
that.
was saying. Is like the precedent, not the president. It's been said that the majority of people who are mentors or like trying to do like good shit for a community is usually a fucking weirdo, creep, or a freak.
Really?
Yeah,
I would say it's like it's just anybody now.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's
I know a
you've
lot of people
heard
who have
so
bad
many
intentions are
stories.
just go
Yeah,
for the
you've
bad
heard we've
intentions.
heard so many
Yeah,
stories
yeah.
in the media and just personal stories of like, oh, so and so, he was helping people out, but it turns out that he was,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that shit sucks.
very extra.
Yeah.
So now at 2021, everyone's kind of. I just always have said to people like, just don't trust anybody. I hate to be that guy, but from
You have trust, but
from
you
like
always have to-
17,
you have to
18,
have,
I was always telling people like, just don't trust anyone. Interact with people, be sociable,
you gotta have the
but
stock-
don't ever give anyone the benefit
well,
of the
Stockton,
doubt.
You got- you gotta have
Stockton's hard to
yeah,
trust.
you gotta have the
people.
Stockton
But that's what I was about to say. I definitely.
Stockton swivel head.
Yeah.
you know
the
what I'm saying?
Stockton swivel
I was
head,
gonna
dude,
say I
like-
definitely have
Yeah.
Stockton syndrome though, because
Like-
I know my perspective relative to everyone else's is very skewed. Because I grew up in Stockton, California,
Yeah, I live
so
here.
my first instinct when I meet someone new, I'll act personable and like sociable, but in my head I'm like, I don't know who the fuck you are. Like I'm
Yeah.
sussing, I'm I'm looking at them like, what is up with this person? Why, a normal person I feel like wouldn't even do that. They'd just be, oh, what's up? Like, how are you?
No, but we talked about this because like it almost kind of you develop a weird empathy for like if someone does you dirty, you kind of like look inward and be like,
What did
that
I?
was my bad.
What did I
that
do
person
wrong?
I let that person get too close. I should have known better.
Yeah.
So you almost like develop like somewhat of an empathy to be like, I should have saw that coming.
Yeah. Like people
Instead of just
suck.
like totally hating that, like it's all on that person. You kind of almost take a little bit. Everyone I know talks about like, I should have known better.
I want to talk about placeholder.
Oh, okay.
Going from that Psy. So speaking about Psy and the evolution of
You
the
got one of the
scene.
magazines right there.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah.
do? Issue 2 or 1?
It's the right. Wherever
That's
it's
probably
at.
number
Grab it.
2 because no one has issue 1. There's only like 5 of those made.
It's wild because we found 2 issues to give to the new folks that got on.
Ah,
Of issue 1,
nice.
which is sick, but we don't have issue 2 anymore.
What a conundrum.
It's wild because we like printed them and then we're just like, yo, we have none
Where did they
left.
go? Yeah, I printed a fucking Z now, 100 of them,
Oh,
and they're all gone.
What
And
a
I have
throwback.
no idea where the fuck they gone. Where they have gone.
Yeah, I'm super stoked about issue
But-
3.
Yeah, so like Psy. So you went from Psy. Didn't Psy morph into placeholder, or was it 2 different things?
Psy like was involved some of the same people, but it definitely was like a project that like
Was separate.
yeah kind of came out of like multiple energies, one of which was Psy. Yeah, and but before Psy, there again we were talking about just like decentralized creative energy.
Yeah.
A lot of things were happening just like
Oh, yeah.
across the board. Like, but I remember like Buddy used to put on the like Words for Wednesdays,
Mhm.
spoken word stuff, and Julia would put on the Jazz Monday nights,
Yeah.
and then Reality Stockton came through, and then those were all the pop up shows.
That's where I met Gio. I
Yeah.
remember I saw Gio playing there, and I was like, "Who the fuck is this dude?" I was like, How have I never heard of this guitarist in Stockton?" And yeah, I started a band with that guy eventually.
So yeah, so cool. That's tight.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Shots out Static Symphony.
Static Symphony. Hell yeah. But yeah, things just kind of like evolved there, and then all of a sudden Placeholder came about, which was cool. It was always a like you were saying, like with venues, right? Like it was like
Mhm.
sort of like a non-profitable, almost unprofitable.
Yeah.
And like Placeholder's always been that.
Yeah, pretty much.
But the cool thing that was wild is that everyone that was involved with Placeholder all did other things aside from the magazine, so it
Yeah.
just felt like a sort of, at least when it came about, Placeholder was trying to just help like support propping and holding up everyone's stuff that
Yeah.
they're doing. But then
I was telling my friends that yesterday. I was like, it was so odd being a part of Placeholder because everyone kept trying to talk to me about like the magazine and all this other shit, and I was like, bro, all I'm trying to do is make shirts.
I
was
know,
like, I don't
we
know.
literally were just like, yo,
I don't know why. I was like, I don't know why I have to be a part of this conversation for like where we're gonna put the paragraph or which photo we're gonna use. Like, I just need to make the shirts.
that's hella funny. I know.
But Placeholder was that thing really like ballooned into like a whole ass organization. That was a real thing.
That's
Yeah.
legit, Mac. Like that volume 2 is like legit. The way
Yeah.
it was done too.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, kind of when I did my magazine, I was like,
Modeled it after that.
kind of, I was like, that's like I like the way it came out.
Yeah, it did turn out pretty cool.
That's hella funny that you say that because it's like
That's what it's all
I've been thinking about doing a magazine like that too for all the music shit I've been doing, and I was gonna model it after yours. So it's like yours is modeled after this. So it's like the copy of the copy of the copy.
Well, not necessarily. It's more about just like building a field, right? Like,
Yeah.
Building a field means that everyone's able to like see that something's possible, and then they like make interpretations of their own unique footprint. And I mean, the other thing too is like
Yeah.
your books have been hella sick, and just like it's
Mhm.
tight because like everything, it's kind of just like a mutual surprise and hopefully inspiration building sort of thing.
Yeah.
Most photography are like the pamphlet size.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, but like when that came, I was like, that's like a legit. Like when I first saw it, in my mind, it looked like a coloring book.
Yeah,
That's what I thought when I was like saw it, and I was like, oh, it kind of reminds me of a coloring book. And
we
something,
ended up doing coloring books.
I was about to
it's-
say that. I was
and
like,
it's something you would like want to like,
funny that
pick
you
up.
would mention.
you know,
Yeah.
a pamphlet you kind of like see, and in your mind, it's like a short little thing of information. It's something to be tossed. Like most pamphlets are something to be tossed as like something that big in a magazine size. You would want to
Yeah.
pick
You'd
it up
wanna
and look
flip
at it.
through it,
Yeah, you
yeah.
want.
I
Yeah,
just-
exactly.
I just love how legit this thing has always felt.
You
That's
know,
why I was always so down to ride for you guys because I was like, y'all really did it. Like y'all already made a thing.
right?
Because I could definitely be like like $35 for this. All right, and I wouldn't feel weird about it.
It's so funny.
you
we
know?
like sold those for like
$5.
$7.
Yeah.
We just wanted
But
to
that's the
just get it
quality.
out.
Yeah.
That's like the quality of it. Like,
I saw my magazine too. I was like, I just wanted to make my money back.
cause look at this shit, man. You guys can't see it on the audio podcast, but like, it's so, like, it's just a
That's legit.
timepiece. Yeah.
There was
That's
a lot.
legit, too.
Yeah, yeah. It was,
You
it was
read
definitely
it,
just
you
like
let the
a
feel
love
of
letter
it.
and an artifact to the
This is
art
Stockton.
scene. Trying to be, yeah. And you know, it's wild because there's always so much more that comes up that is part of the scene, and that's the kind of cool thing too. Like, I mean, honestly, the decision to revive Placeholder this year, like, yeah, just coming from a place of like seeing that maybe it's needed or whatever. I actually have if you want, I could talk about we actually have a theme for the issue, which is pretty cool.
That's good.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
The first issue had a theme. That one doesn't, but the first one had a theme, which was Visions in the Dark. And then the second one, folks that were holding it up, like, put this one through, they were just like, no, let's just make something more broad.
Yeah.
But the third issue is exciting. It feels like it's like a theme that resonates with Stockton, but more broader, kind of just to the world right now, is a compass in complexity. That's the theme of it. Which is like, how do you stay grounded in like what matters and like what we're trying to build and support and prop up in the midst of just like some deep challenges / blessings / attention /
existential crises.
existential crisis that happens here in Stockton. Yeah, I mean, especially in the aftermath of our mayor, which is kind of like brought forward a sort of national spotlight. That impact is going to happen in a more decentralized way too. Like, Stockton is ground zero for a lot of issues that are relevant around the country.
It's really going to show people like what the current climate for governance is going to be like, is with the whole divisiveness that is the Democratic and Republican beef that's going on right now. Because I can definitely see how this new administration that we were getting in Stockton is just going to be, everything that Tubbs did is backwards and we're going to reverse it. And they're just going to be like doing the Trump thing where he's just like, Obama was a piece of shit. I'm better.
Yeah, that's one thing.
That I don't know anything about the local elections, but that's what I can sense
like
coming.
That, but like a lot of the people I know who are like, I like I said, I don't know anything about Mayor Lincoln. But most people I knew that talked about it, it was that.
Response to
It was
See, I didn't even. I just guessed.
I don't like what Tubbs is doing. That's like it's like I don't even know really.
It's just
this
a
guy,
middle finger.
But apparently he is the anti
Tubbs.
Michael Tubbs, and it's like, well, that's not like what does this guy do?
There's
like
not
what
a
is it?
platform for any.
What has he ever ran? Has he ever held an office?
If he's a
before?
true-
He's a former pastor.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think he's a current pastor and a former.
If he's a
Navy or
true
Marine guy.
if he's a true Republican or conservative, all he's gonna be doing is just kicking the can down the road.
Well, I mean, that may not even be.
That's all he's gonna do.
I'm saying that might not even be his. He may not even be
Republican?
conservative, but he just you got to run with whatever the populace wants you to run as.
Yeah.
Whatever if you go and do a census and the census I want you to be the anti-Tubbs guy, then you're gonna run as the anti-Tubbs guy because it can get you the votes.
Yeah, so get you the constituents.
Yeah, you may agree with that. He may like wholeheartedly like, yeah, I agree with some of like a lot of his stuff, and he took a chance, and some panned out, some didn't. I would have done the same thing. But he's like, I want to get elected, so you got to. It's about winning. It's not about.
The
being
problem,
honest.
I don't know anything about the guy. I don't know his platform or what the fuck he ran on. But the
the
problem that we're having in Stockton is a very human problem, and that's homelessness. One of the major issues we're having to deal with right now is homelessness on a mass scale, because COVID is going to put more people out on the streets. And that's the thing, is like, this is a people problem, but usually conservatives want to treat it as like a marginal thing, or like a down to like numbers thing. It's like, whoa, we can move them here, we can move them there, da, 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 da. But like, all you're doing is just moving shit.
Yeah,
you're not really trying to like create centers where people can get rehabilitated or get the help that they need. Because
it's both part of the political game in the left and the right. Like, I think sometimes like there's a sort of like dehumanization and like not a look at the like root cause, and instead just kind of like you said, kicking the can down the road, because like, politics is a sort of like back.
That's all. That's all they've done.
You kind of have to
The-
look at it as like
The
like,
Capitol storming isn't weird. It was inevitable
Oh,
because
yeah.
nothing's been fixed.
you have to like sometimes like in well, this is like I'm not trying to like also make an excuse for people in power, but sometimes when like you're in leadership, you have to dehumanize
Yeah.
the factors and equations,
Yeah.
because then if you always your heart will always get in the way.
Yeah,
Your
because
conscience will always get in the way,
That's right.
and like with like triage, when you're like, how do I sacrifice these people so the greater good, or give these people the shaft, but in reality, more people will get a better stake out of it.
Yeah.
You have to do that, but
Challenging thing about leadership.
a lot of stuff too. Sometimes it's just like you said,
400,000
it's just-
people, though, is a lot of people.
It's sometimes like the public doesn't want to even hear
Yeah.
your.
I don't want
like,
to
They
hear
don't
it.
even want to hear your plan. They're just
Yeah.
like, I want a simple and easy fix.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And that's not a lot of times you may.
Reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're really living in the society of the spectacle, everybody.
Yeah,
Du
it's
Bois
true.
was right.
Mhm.
If you want a situation to happen, make it happen. Be a situationist.
Yeah, it's a lot.
We should take a break for our ads. Talking about the situationist.
Yeah.
Our first ad, let me look through my papers, is for the Situationist International mittens. You like Bernie Sanders mittens? Well, get a load of these mittens. Look at these. You can't see them because it's an audio file, but they're great. What do you think of them, Orion? How do they look?
Can't see 'em.
Oh, I can't see them.
No, don't break the illusion. They're
Oh.
sponsoring us.
Oh,
Art, how do they look? Art,
Amazing.
yeah.
Looking
So
good.
real shiny. But if you use the promo code "Then My Mittens," you'll get 50% off on the next. What did I call them? Shiny mittens
You
or
don't
whatever.
remember.
This ad is this company's great. I use them every day. And
What do you use them for?
our second, the people can't know. The second will be liable. It's a liability thing. We can't tell people what they can be used for. What are we? Do we have a second ad, Art?
I usually say something that's not appropriate, so
Or your
you're
beer.
demonetized. So
All right, yeah, that was great,
Um,
Art. That second ad. What
that's
a.
a good thing to say.
Go for it.
Something off the wall.
I'm just gonna put crickets in this part. Just
I'm gonna go with the Hannibal Buress quote. If you have triplets, give one away.
All right, that was Art. Do you want to plug anything, Orion? A book or a TV show?
Let's see here.
Documentary?
I've been really. No, it's okay.
All right, we're back from our ad break.
For me, the only thing that makes me feel really complicated about it, and this is like doing coalition building between folks that like are doing like stuff inside of like legislation, and then folks that are like really like have no faith in the governmental
And
system.
establishment
Is that I mean the root foundation for me feels like it's always been just like corrupt to the core.
always
And
has.
that's been super clear to me too, just like even doing a lot of ancestral work and like just learning a lot about how the Philippines was exploited by empire and like that I mean like yeah, like and this country, like, you know, like it or not, has been built off of the like economic exploitation of like many different peoples, like the Chinese that built the levees, the Mexican and Filipino farm
workers in Delano.
Yeah, the like black labor because of the slave trades and stuff. It's just, it's horrible. It's like, and in the indigenous peoples of the land. You know,
and that's all real. Like that's a real thing.
it's like real history.
That's real. And if people, I've
and
talked
even before that, like the Spanish settlers of
yeah,
California,
we're
you know,
fucking shit up.
you know, like,
And that's like another. I don't understand people of color who I've talked to who are like, I don't understand why you think everything's so racist. Why you always gotta make things about race? I'm like, because it's been that. Like it's been that since
like
day
historically
one,
rooted in.
dude.
yeah.
Like when you're a kid, that's why I'm so irate. As a millennial, that's why I have so much anger in me. Because when I was a kid, I was told like, you can be the president, you can do this, you can go to space, and I believed it. I was like, hell yeah, I could be the president. I'm stupid as fuck, but hey, I got that opportunity just like everybody else. And then when I grew up and became an adult, it's like, nah, bro, you still believe in Santa Claus? Like, what kind of stupid shit are you
I think
believing,
that's
bro?
like
You're Mexican. You're gonna be a construction worker in the Bay, and you're gonna have to drive nonstop to get your bread. But you're gonna be okay, bro, because you're Mexican.
I think
you
that's
know?
like
And it's
kind
like,
of
yeah, I got it.
a little more rough because like my parents were real realistic with me.
Mhm.
They were like, we would like you to succeed.
Yeah.
We would like you to become a doctor. We would like you, and they never told me because they wanted me to help people. It was because doctors are well off.
Yeah, money.
But they were real realistic with me. Where they're like, we would like you to become these things, and it's like up to you
If you want to be these things.
because
Yeah.
You need to get good grades. You need to pay attention. You need to have a. It's up to you.
Yeah.
They're real. Like I'm very thankful for that. They're very realistic. Like it's on you.
Yeah.
What they didn't tell me is that maybe the deck may be stacked against you
A little
a
higher.
little higher than others,
Mm-hmm.
which is very true. But I think it's more like the the tyranny of war,
Yeah.
where it's not like necessarily like it's definitely can be put as race, but it's just the idea of scarcity where there's not enough for everybody.
But there is.
And
So
then,
these
and
people-
then we're socialized to believe that those
Yeah.
identities are like static when actually like that's the thing that I've been trying to figure out is how to dismantle the paradigms that keep people in the places that like they
Yeah.
always like say that they're supposed to land because that's frustrating. And for me it's like that's the thing that's wild too, right? Like I mean you've known me since I was like in Delta trying to figure shit out too.
Yeah.
I mean honestly in some ways I feel weird because I've been having to fight against credentialism for hella long
Mm-hmm.
because I dropped out of school because of the fucking corporations and the water privatization happening around here, and I
Yeah.
like took a job at a nonprofit, and then started learning about the climate movement, and then got super involved with that, and then all this arts activism stuff, and like now I'm like this executive director of like a national climate organization, which is hella wild.
Yeah.
But like the thing is that makes me feel like, and this is just my story, and I just feel like this is also true for other people. I like hope is just like that like yeah people should know, and that's what I think that ultimately too even placeholders like sort of like where that passion came from is like people in Stockton, like there's hella people in Stockton that either they live here or are outside of Stockton that like have built miracles out of like our own trauma, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we've like really like gone through hella heavy shit, like all of us like maybe everyone from Stockton at one point probably has brushed up against like all the things that we just talked about, all the fucked up stuff. Like,
yeah.
like
So much so it's normal to us. This
Well,
is
gang
normal.
violence, drug abuse, like
Overdoses.
substance stuff, like
death.
friends, death, evictions, like it's all hella heavy for us.
Yeah.
And like you know what? That makes us like I think it makes the city overall humble, sometimes overly humble, and sometimes really self-defeatist. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
like even like it's interesting even hearing like you say stuff like that's because especially like because I know that you're not like dumb, but you're like you're always just saying like I'm dumb as shit and stuff like that.
I
But-
am dumb. I was in special ed my whole
Uh,
life. So
I forgot someone.
so on paper.
Someone
Nah,
said something
man.
about that, and I always held it. I think Jim Jeffrey said it best. He's like, "Oh, when they're talking about your kid's not dumb. He has a learning disability," and he's like, "That's the definition of dumb is that he cannot. He has a disability retaining knowledge."
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
he's like that. He's like it. He's like the problem is we've gotten to use those terms as like, instead of like
Limitless.
medical terms.
Mhm.
And like describing somebody's abilities, we've used it as insults. So
Yeah.
if you call someone stupid, you're insulting them.
Mhm.
You're not saying that person's capability is limited. You know,
I've
it's
heard that
becoming
joke.
in like the word idiot was actually a medical term. It was,
Yeah, I understand. My point of view on it is that it originates from eugenics, and that like being
shit.
dumb and stupid is actually like it's like slang
It's
term
about like value.
for dim-witted.
Uh,
You know, like you have your ancestral like being is lesser and more dimmed than others.
and that was. I
But
mean,
that's
that
all
shit's racist.
That's all
Yeah. That
colonialism.
shit's all racism. And the other piece of it too, for me,
You
I
know.
think the only reason why I feel hella strongly about that sometimes also is like, I mean, I grew up with my mom who takes care of developmentally disabled adults and stuff. So I like grew up like with those folks, and I feel like they taught me a lot about like being humble and appreciating
Yeah.
like beautiful small things, and like I don't know. For me, I just feel like there's like some disability justice shit that comes up for me because I just feel like people always underestimate people with like limitations or different ways that they process the world, and I hate that shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would feel sometimes like I would say it too, like kind of like half joking, but not really. But I was like people like who would say like people against like people who have like Down syndrome or like mentally disabled and stuff like that. I was like those people you really don't see them being petty or
No.
like
Yeah.
No,
like
don't really
greedy.
worry
They're
about
very they're very happy with the people that have been given in their lives and the routine that they've been given,
Mm-hmm.
and they like don't ever like want more. I mean, sometimes they may want like oh, I see something I like, I want it, but you never see somebody with like a mental disability that's like going out and like trying to do something like shady
Yeah.
or like trying to like do something to take from someone else so they have more.
Yeah.
because it's because that mentality just isn't there for them. You know, they've grown up in a state of being taken care of, and like basically be given a role, and they play it, and they don't ever like really like rage against it or like have a backlash to it, because either they've grown up with a family that's like, oh, that's my mother, and she's gonna take care of me, and that's all I need.
Yeah.
They don't go out and say, well, I need to make, you know, like 40,000 K this year, you know, or something like that, because it's not part of their thinking process, you know.
Yeah, they're just in the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's something about that's like a little more pure than
definitely.
than an average person who's like consumed about their next move.
Definitely, but
It's like the capitalist rat race.
Yeah,
competition.
but like I think competition too also like breeds like
innovation.
Innovation.
Yeah, I
good
definitely
stuff.
believe that
That's
too.
true. Yeah.
And
My whole spiel about what I do in Stockton is I'm trying to create a renaissance, and the only way you can create a renaissance in the community is by oversaturating it in the arts, because in that oversaturation you'll start having competition that then push people to be like, I'm better, and that's when you get like Da Vinci, and you get, because everyone was just trying to up one another.
well, not only that too, like we had the argument about the lottery too. Like I think too, like we value happiness and like monetization differently than other countries and other cultures. So like usually when someone says like they hit the lottery, like what they in their mind, like a working class person to hit when you say what would you do if you won the lottery, most of them really think about paying off all their debt first, and then doing something where they would be debt free and doing something they would like to do.
Yeah.
Most people who are working class, if you told them if you won the lottery, they wouldn't say, I'm going to take it and invest it in like mutual hedge funds and then make more money and then use that money then to lobby politicians so I can help my corporations get, like, you know, they don't have, it's very like
It's about
close ended.
Yeah.
It's just about being like self-reliant and then financially
Stable.
Yeah.
It doesn't really go further than that. You know?
Yeah, definitely talking about that, it also reminds me of like, it's just trauma, like trying to control traumas pretty much.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird to like think that people who have such, like the idea of like wealth inequality, like people who have so much wealth could really kind of even have like an inkling of what, like they may have came from like immigrant parents and working class families,
But they don't really understand.
but they've gone
it.
to such a place of wealth and like
They get-
access that they really can't.
They get
connect it.
disconnected.
Yeah, they really can't connect with the average person because
Yeah.
there's just so many. There's just and it's a lie to say there's not difference.
It's a fourth
cultural
wall.
differences?
And there's cultural.
It's like a
there's
fourth
like
wall.
It's almost like you create
because
another-
reality for them is completely different than our reality.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like literally like a fourth wall that they can't break.
Like
It's
you understand the
live
social
somewhere.
structures of like I have to give this much money at this store to get this back. Like
Mhm.
like for like but basic laws of like, well, if I break the law, I shouldn't have to have the same consequences as this person because I have more wealth,
Yeah.
and with this wealth I've accumulated, I should be able to then donate so much money to these causes, and and since I've donated so much, I don't have to do the same crime or time
Yeah.
or punishment.
The world is just the world is just so fucking complex.
like the rules don't apply to me
Yes.
because I am one of the people that make the rules.
Yeah.
Or
Because
I
for
hang
them,
out, or I hang out with the people that make the rules.
that's what I would tell my construction coworkers. I would be like, look, you gotta understand, you gotta be careful on these roads when you're doing flagging, because we're like a Mount Diablo. These people are rich as fuck, so they can definitely hit you with their car, and keep you in court forever because they're never gonna run out of money, because they're rich. They don't give a fuck about you. Like if so and so is drunk and hits you, fucks you up, for them it's just like $4,000, $3,000, and maybe some time in the courtroom, and then they're fine. You, on the other hand, you're all fucked up. You're not gonna be able to work. You're a construction worker. There goes your career. So don't trust these rich folks, because they're not playing. They don't see you as a person. Like they don't see us as being a part of the same kind of community, because we're from the outside.
Yeah, there was like I forgot.
But the only reasoning I had that was because for them we're just a fine.
yeah,
For us to them, for us they're our whole life, because they can either do away with the contract. So and so looked at me funny. He glared. You lose the contract for the company. You lose your job. But for them, if it hit you, that's whatever. I just pay a little fine and go on my way. But that's the fourth wall. That's that disconnect that you really see in front of people, because it's life or death.
yeah.
It
There was
really
like,
is life or death, and
I forgot
people who are rich just don't give a fuck. Just sign it off. I'll go get the vaccine at a Canadian native fucking resort or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah, I remember reading
That's
about
all,
that.
and all they did was get
They
a fucking
flew there.
fine, bro. And that for me
Yeah.
is, I'm sorry that we can't cut you off for it, but that for me, when you were talking about how like people manage all this shit, people are going through it. It's all trauma management for me. That's how I see it. Everyone's going through trauma. Some people have more traumas, and some people have less traumas. The less traumas you have, the easier it is for you to just go into a native community, get a fucking vaccine, and take off. Because to you, it's not a big deal. You
Oh,
get
yeah,
over
like,
it.
yeah,
you know.
it's also part
But
of the
for
like
the
privilege and
natives-
entitlement piece too.
Yeah,
I
for
think.
the natives, that's a life you're taking, bro. That vaccine could have saved someone's grandmother. So that's that fourth wall that I was saying. You know?
Yeah, no, I feel you. I mean, it's definitely a complicated world that we're sorting through with all these things.
Oh, yeah, and that's another thing you reminded me of. I've noticed, not the majority of people in Stockton, but there's a handful of people in Stockton that I've talked to that all say the same thing. It's like, I'm trying to figure this out. I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And you were saying it earlier. You were like, I was in Delta and I was trying to figure out what the fuck was going on.
Okay.
And I was thinking in my head, like, that's all I've ever been doing. I'm just trying to figure out what the fuck is going on here.
Like
You
with
know?
you or with
With
what?
everything.
Okay,
Yeah.
the world, yeah.
With
think so- and
everything.
I think so-
Myself, where I sit in it, what the fuck I am. And it irritates me because you can't say that kind of shit because people just look at you like, you're fucking crazy, bro. Or you talk to a religious person, they'll be like, you just got to trust in the faith. You know, and it's like, that's not a good answer.
Yeah.
I want something that's interior. Like, when I hear it, I'm just like,
But
and
that's
I
like
haven't.
that's like the whole like you want an easy fix to a complicated
complicated as situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You want someone to tell you, oh no, what you were doing, you weren't doing this, and then this is what you do, and now you're better.
Yeah.
That's like a lot of
Nah.
times not the situation,
Nah.
you know.
And we're all, and then, like, I'm not a narcissist, or I shouldn't say, but like, I believe that everyone is a real entity. Like, I really believe you guys are really as much as I am real. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I see. It sounds crazy,
No, no, no.
but there
I
are.
mean,
I've
no.
I've talked to sociopaths. Like,
No,
I've
no,
talked to
no.
people who say, like, to me, you're nothing. Like, you're just a
there's
thing.
no. I mean, there's a whole. I mean, there's whole lines of thinking around that. Like, there's the like whole like we live in a computer simulation
Yeah.
sort of thing. There's the whole,
Roku's basculus.
I'm,
Yeah,
I'm
or that.
personally a fan and a deep advocate and believer of the multiverse.
Me
As
too.
you're,
That's what I
said.
say.
Dude,
You can't limit God, bro. You
The
can't just be
minute-
one universe, one hell, one heaven.
the
Nah,
minute,
it's
dude,
gotta be infinite.
I'm telling you, the Hillary Trump campaign, I was like, we are living in a parallel universe. This is the best we can come up with right now.
Oh, I know.
I was like, the
You're right.
timeline split somewhere,
jumping
and
the
I'm no longer part of the regular.
2016 did feel like literally a whole
I'm no
time
longer
skip.
part. Yeah, like like you
So-
said, 2016. I was like, okay, I'm not part of
Bri-
the original timeline
Right,
anymore.
yeah.
This is like
Some-
multiverse.
Yeah, something
something
split.
Yeah.
You know.
I was into like some real weird spiritual shit back in like 2008, 2009. And I was telling my cousin who was like there with me or like doing kind of that shit with me. I was telling them like they're saying that 2010 is going to be the last normal year. They say like after 2010 it's just going to start getting weird. And when 2016 popped off, I was just like, those motherfuckers were kind of right. I mean, they were off a little bit, but shit has been getting fucking weird. And now in 2021, I can tell you, that was me saying it was weird in 2016. I can tell you in 2021, it's wild.
No, I
It's
mean,
fucking
it's
wild.
deep. I mean, honestly,
We're free falling in the middle of a fucking global maybe extinction event, and we're all just like,
well, I mean, the
kicking it with
global
masks on
extinction
our
event
face.
has been happening.
It's
I mean,
been-
for
yeah,
those that have been
free
paying
fall.
attention to the climate crisis,
Yeah.
like shit's been fucked up for a long
and
time.
now it's just
Yeah.
like fucking Looney
What's
think
the what's that guy? I can't think of his name. He's the guy that
Tunes.
he's the guy that he's like a motivational speaker for like capitalists.
Okay.
I don't know him.
I can't think of his name. He's the one that like when everyone brings up like the sea level rising, he always tells them, he's like, I own so much property in like the Florida. He's like, you know, like the Keys. He's like, you think if the water was rising, I would own all my like land development on the shore, on the coast and stuff like that.
That's the worst.
He also calls like basically he has these like capitalist seminars where he has people that come in to hear him speak, and he just insults them the entire time. He calls them babies and losers, and that's
Yeah.
it's like that's his entire thing. I can't think of his name, but it's basically you pay him to get yelled at.
Oh. Yeah, that's weird. I mean, I don't know. One thing that, like, sorry to sidetrack a little bit, but
No, it's
like,
fine. I totally fucked it all up.
I've just been thinking a lot about, I don't know, to what you were just saying when you were just talking about like spiritual stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been something that like has been a weird journey for me over the course of some years now. Just because like before I was like, when I was really involved in like activism stuff, especially with like water issues and things, like I felt like I needed to be a sort of like archetype of like a detective because like I had to get my shit right because if I'm
Yeah.
gonna stand for something, I need to like look into like all the sort of facets to understand like that I'm not just like serving like some additional fucking bullshit to add to it. And then you know, it's weird because I don't know if y'all knew this, but I was part of this thing called like the Spiritual Ecology Fellowship, which is pretty tight, like which is like just I don't know, it's been interesting to me to like be able to like sort of explore that sort of like world. Spiritual ecology essentially is just like how do we see the like interconnectedness of like tangible like natural systems around us and actually find like that there's like I don't know, this is my shit.
A cause and effect, basically.
No, go
Cause
ahead.
and
Go
effect,
ahead.
but just to like orient that like, yo, there's actually a lot of like sacred, simple shit around us that like is pretty like tangible. Like for example, like the water that like goes down and like makes fucking like our food grow, and like the sun that like continues to like nurture all these ecosystems. There's all this shit that just like makes the mystical part of like what life is for me and the like wondrous part like alive, which honestly if I didn't have that I'd probably be like depressed and probably dead. So just for me, just like that shit's like been really grounding to me, and also just been thinking a lot about like how just like even if we want to get hella existential like think about like
Let's go there.
yeah, just like bird's eye view when
Dig
you look
deep.
at human society, like there is a lot of ridiculous shit, and some of it, even like deep historical shit, like sometimes comes from like the most like out of place ideas that people catch on, and then all of a sudden it's like this like deep like lineage. When so for me is I'm just like always thinking like, damn, how do we like actually like scale back and also find like what is like what has been made like what like insignificant that's actually like sacred and critical, and like what has been made super sacred that's actually fucking ridiculous. Like there's just for me like it's interesting because I feel like there's just so much unlearning that needs to happen in this time, because like the paradigm has shifted to a place where it's so extreme now that like we have to like peel back some of these layers, you know. And like I don't know, one of the things for me which I guess I want to bring up this like parallel thing to what you were sharing, just because it felt like it wanted to be said.
Yeah.
But I've been reading this book lately as part of this book club that actually Sam is I'm a part of with Sam, which is tight.
Sam Regan?
Yeah.
Hey.
Yep.
Shouts out to the homie.
Yeah, shouts out Sam.
Baseball Greg, big things.
But yeah, Open Veins of Latin America, and it's like a really intense book about sort of like how all the natural resources and like ecological wealth of the of like Latin America, like how all of that has been exploited by many different powers like Spain, Britain, the US, like basically to prop up their own economies, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like the wild thing about it too is that hits so close to home for me, I think, when I think about the Central Valley, because you know, like there used to be communally held farmlands like in Latin America where folks like lived off their lived you know, full day's work like you said, and like just like lived off the land and like survived and thrived and stuff like that. But then their lands got taken over by all these like corporate mega farms, like producing massive amounts of like bananas or like coffee or rubber or whatever the case may be, and then like basically forced all these folks to like migrate to work for the very like big mega farms that like are here in the valley or whatever. And just like and then just the ways that skewed even the perception of like immigration, and just like the fact that these folks are like, people are like, oh, like I don't know, there's just like such human rights shit to like think about with like farm workers. And then I'm just like, damn. And like that, I don't know, I guess I just bring this as a parallel example because I think unlearning this like sort of like cult of like the wealthy and like and celebrity culture and shit like that is super important, just as much as we're able to just see too like the bigger picture of things. And like my brain's been like trying to find cohesive ways to like process this shit, because I used to be like you know, I used to just be like this like dude in Stockton that was like throwing art shows and music stuff, and then all of a sudden just got thrown into all these like big questions, especially like going to the climate negotiations at the UN and stuff, just being like, damn, like
this is real.
There's just like bigger, it's like there's bigger stories like make the smaller ones possible. And I'm just like, how do we like know what's going on with the bigger ones to like understand the root cause of shifting the smaller ones?
Because the micro mirrors the macro.
Oh, 100%.
Small mirrors the big, and the big.
Yeah, when I went to Peru, they would talk about a lot about because everyone talks about like Columbus going to the
Columbus,
the new world. And the what was crazy though was the big lie of it was that he told Columbus isn't Spanish; he's Italian. But
Yeah.
so his own government was like, "No, we're not funding your crazy voyage."
I think the last time we talked about Columbus, we
Yeah.
said the same shit.
But
He's
like
a hack.
he lied. Yeah, he completely lied and said that he went to a continent that was filled with gold and silver. And what he was finding was basically that the people, like especially in Peru, silver and gold is considered spiritually valuable. So we find a lot of shrines with just gold stuff in it, and it really didn't have a monetary value to the people. It was more like a ceremonial value. Like gold is considered of the sun god, and silver is considered of the water, the earth god. So everything in their temples would have silver and gold in it, but they didn't like look. They basically like looked at it as an offering, like you would offer like in like Taoism or Buddhism, where you would offer a plate of food. That food has no value.
Yeah.
It's just an offering.
Just a part of the
and
ritual.
it's ceremonial.
Yeah.
So when he went to these temples and looted them, basically, he was like, "You guys are just leaving gold and silver everywhere, so they must have an abundance of it.
What an asshole.
Oh, man.
So they must have so much gold and silver that they're just leaving it out."
there. Yeah.
No.
And so that was like the big lie that boosted like
Us
the
in
big.
the future, just like no.
No, he's saying that was like that was his proof basically
Yeah.
to like
yeah.
when he
Keep
went back
going.
to Spain, like look at all this gold and silver I just found lying around.
Oh man, I mean,
And they're just leaving it out. So there must be a huge. That's where the tale of El Dorado, the city of gold, comes
Right,
from.
right.
Like and the whole time these people, indigenous people, are like, no, we just like don't put like a monetary value on it. It's just
Yeah, it's
used
just
for
there.
ceremonial things.
Yeah, it's just there. But and it's so funny that you bring that little. Both of you guys brought that up because that really does like. And now hearing all that, and now like zooming out, it's like and now we're sitting in this fucking house because of all these fucking things.
Because of the wealth. That was
All this
accumulated.
shit that we just talked about has had me, Orion,
That is a
and
murderer.
Art. What?
He's like a legit murderer. Like Columbus is a bad person.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was.
he's a horrible
yeah,
person.
he's, fuck him. I
And
hope he burns in
the
hell.
only reason he became popular
And
and
I'd
stuff.
shit on him if I could.
Well, what's sad
Fuck
is
my
you.
God, Jesus Christ.
what was
Can't
sad,
save us now.
What's really sad is like the reason his popularity came about is because of immigration. Because
yeah.
Italian immigrants would use this immigrant
Oh, dude.
as the original immigrant, and like don't feel bad about being Italian because Italians
I was
discovered
just,
America. I was like, you
dude.
got Amerigo Vespucci, who the
Yeah.
continents are actually named after,
Mhm.
who is Italian as well,
Yeah.
who didn't do as much dirt.
America's-
Like, why is this guy propped up? You know?
Yeah.
Just something that feels similar to what you were saying about like the past influences the present and future. Yeah. This was something I just recently like found out today or yesterday, I forget, but generally like okay, so there was a treaty that was signed in Paris in like I think I forget where, like it was like a while ago, maybe 1898, around there, basically 1800s, early 1900s, somewhere there, that basically handed off Spanish ownership of the Philippines to the U.S. And that treaty was signed that handed off that ownership of multiple places. I think it was the Philippines, Guam,
Fiji.
I think it was like
No, Fiji's
Haiti?
Fiji's like Commonwealth, so probably
or
not.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico,
For sure. And then it's like wild to me because like I learned about that treaty and I was like, damn, that's wild. It's like it was like December 10th, 1898, I think. Don't quote me. We'll all look it up. Whoever's out there, just like look it up or whatever.
Correct us.
And then it's a trip because I was weirdly like had the I don't know if it was pleasure per se, but I had the like weird experience, the weird historic experience of representing the Delta at the UN climate talks in Paris in 2015.
Oh, fuck, yeah.
And that shit was a trip. That shit broke open hella like shit for me because I was going through a mental breakdown over there because because the Philippines is like the third most vulnerable country to climate change.
Yeah.
And, I was meeting folks that were impacted by the typhoons out there, and I was hearing really traumatic stories, and I was like, damn, this is wild. Like, and it was weird. The small connects to the large. It makes me think of like a lot about how I grew up, feeling really I like built a sort of conditioned racism towards myself growing up.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, just because like I was like,
About
oh, whatever.
myself.
Like whiteness is like, why can't I be white? That kind of bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I never
was,
thought.
I think I was talking about it. Mine was
Yeah.
the opposite, where I was like bummed that like because I didn't quote unquote act Hispanic enough
Yeah.
that
You
you
weren't
were
in.
called white boy
White boy, yeah.
Yeah. It was like,
by fellow people of of some ethnicity, and I never got why that was. Like, that's one thing I was gonna bring up was like, what do you feel about cultural appropriation?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, why does me enjoying something that happens? Why can't why is this considered
White.
when
I just like
when
it.
I like doing something? And even if it is a majority, you can say is like Caucasian activity, like. Is that such a bad thing that I enjoy this?
Man.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I
That
think
was
it's just all these sort of like societal illusions that are
pressures,
placed on
yeah.
different people and
Yeah.
different identities. And like just to finish the story I was thinking about is just thinking a lot about like how that the Paris Agreement was signed December 12th, 2015, and that was like a whole agreement about how to like address the climate crisis or whatever. But it was a trip to me to like see that like, oh shit, like years ago, like there was some deep shit with the Philippines, like December, like fucking
And now you're here
1800s.
in
Then
the
like
future
in
representing
the future,
the
and
fucking
it's like
Philippines.
this like similar parallel.
But hey,
like,
motherfuckers, you remember the Philippines, right? Well, guess what?
no, oh my god, no. But it just tripped me out. It just made me
Yeah.
realize like there's like mirrors.
It's probably
You are a product
it's
of the
probably
times.
surreal the fact that like
Yeah.
in the same hallowed grounds or city that determine like such great courses of history, you're also doing the same thing right now.
Yeah, right
Yeah,
now.
and
And
we're
maybe
doing
you
it.
can't,
Yeah.
and maybe it might lead to nothing, or maybe you can't see it because you're so close. It's the concept of the elephant. You're so close that you can't see your
recognize.
impact.
Yeah,
You
that's
can't
right.
see how you going there doing something could actually lead to something like huge.
Oh man! All right, so that was a good hour that we just did, but we're doing the outro now. So yeah, thank you for listening to the Death by Exile
Thank
podcast.
you to our guests.
Thank you
showing
very
up.
much to
Yo.
our guest, our lovely, lovely guest, who I have very fond memories of. And
Is that a Camaro?
dude, do you remember that time?
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So this is the outro. We're, it's been fun, you guys. Thank you again, Orion, for showing up. Art for always being here, being a great
I live
host,
here.
co-host. Yeah, I live here. But yeah, that was it. Thank you. Leave a comment and subscribe, and yeah, listen to the other podcast episodes for more interesting ads. But yeah, thank you. You want to say anything, Orion?
Take care. Be safe out there. Later.
Art, you want to say anything?
Take your Ubers. Use your Ubers. Hey guys, I know a lot of people out there getting DUIs. Please use Uber. It's not that hard. It's the app.
Yeah, so use your Ubers and try to keep it steady. But yeah, thank you for listening and have a good one. Bye.